Welcome to the Hospitality Maverick podcast with me, Michael Tingsare. We at Hospitality Mavericks are here to inspire leaders to create hot-centered and profitable businesses from the inside out, the kind that both employees and customers love and support. Thanks to BizSimply for sponsoring this episode as our show partner. And BizSimply is the all-in-one HR, workforce management, road and operations software designed and built by hospitality experts to make every shift run like clockwork. And we join forces to help the industry to find new ways to become even more innovative in how we lead our people, how we operate, to how we grow our businesses, to how we serve our customers. Together we want to share strategies and tools that can make the industry thrive long term, not just survive.
Every single person we employ is a leader in our business. Every single individual has the ability to influence what we do, has the ability to influence our customers, their co-workers, and the business. That's really, really important. So I might have someone that's earning £9-10 an hour serving coffee, and their role as a leader is to make sure they can lead their particular section or their particular area as if it were their own. Not everybody wishes to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to take those risks. But I think most people in there somewhere have a sense of pride that they want to do a great job. And we work really hard to try and prize that out of people. And we try and make sure that people take real accountability for what they're doing and are really honest with each other. And if they see something they don't like, then they deal with it.
This is Jonathan Reed, MD of Paddy Scott. They are a group of very passionate people who not just sell coffee. They're on a mission to change the world by the way we drink coffee. And one of the ways they're doing that is through their own coffee farm in Kenya. As we heard before here on the show, in episode 43, the coffee supply chain is long and complicated, full of people taking their cut of the farmers' hard work. And Paddy Scott had a bold idea to cut these middlemen out of the supply chain to shorten the distance between coffee grower and coffee drinker. And also, they're a great place to work. They're building a work culture that does not follow the old and traditional top-down command-and-control approach. They're building a culture where people can find meaning, mastery, and get freedom to operate. Jonathan shares the journey since 2007 and what they learned from the pandemic and how they're managing the current challenges. We take a deep dive into the staffing crisis, and he mentioned that they are not particularly struggling to find great people, and he believes it comes down to the approach of putting people first and involving them in the business. Before you tune in, please sign up to our weekly newsletter, packed with more Maverick insights, strategies, and tools. Please find the link in the show notes or visit hospitalitymavericks.com. There are some killer insights in this episode on how to build a company employees and customers love and support. So now stop what you're doing, grab a drink, coffee, and your notebook, and here we go. Today, we're going to have a conversation I've really been looking forward to for quite a while. I was actually meant to go there up over the summer. For many reasons that didn't happen. But now we have the opportunity, and we're going to be talking about something we'd visited over the summer with different guests, and we're going to be probably talking a lot about how to actually build this unique culture that can become your competitive advantage. And we're going to be talking with a UK operator about that. And I met Jonathan a couple of years ago at an event in London. I think it was Experience 101 event. We met the first time, and you were serving coffee. And that was the first time I met Paddy Scott as well. I could feel straight away there was something unique with you guys. At that point, I didn't know all the things you were doing. I then followed you since, and we have kept in touch and stuff. So it's a huge honor to have you on the show today, Jonathan, so we can actually dive a bit deeper into who are you and what is all this about fueling ambition.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the pod.
John, for people that haven't, heard about you before, Paddy Scott, can you just give a background of who you are, how you ended up in hospitality, your journey with Paddy Scott, and what you guys are up to right now when it comes to coffee and making people's life better?
Yeah, I've personally worked in hospitality forever. Since I left school, I went to hotel school and spent a few years working for some large corporate hotel organizations, had a blast, had a real good time. After that, I joined a really forward-focused employee engagement tech startup in London for 13 years, which was great. And then about 3 years ago, joined Paddy Scott's, which is a beautiful, really socially focused coffee company based in lovely Suffolk in East Anglia. So we are a tiny little business with big ambitions, big energy, big heart, and we have our own coffee farm in Kenya, where we are doing some brilliant work in terms of using the coffee supply chain to really, really change the lives of people that work with us and that work and live close to our coffee farm in the region of Meru in northern Kenya. So it's a privilege and an honour to be involved in a business that is all about seeing change happen positively and thinks about business as more than just making a quick buck. So it's a great business, and I think over the past 3 years that I've been here with Paddy Scott's, we've had a lot of fun. We've experienced some really strong growth, and actually it's just the start of our kind of startup journey as we come out of COVID. There's a lot of organisations are in the same place, so we're pretty excited about what the next couple of years holds for us.
That's super interesting. You say like the startup journey, because you started in 2007, as I remember when I read up on you guys. So Paddy Scott was founded in 2007, and you see this almost like a new chapter. Is that what you're saying? Like it's coming out of COVID is like almost like a new beginning for you as a business, but also for the industry.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I think we've been around for 15 years, and in that time, it's been a business that sometimes has been a hobby, a passion. Other years it's been a real business. And I think where we are right now is that we want to use our learnings from the last couple of years when COVID hit to really help turbocharge where we want to get to. Because I think without COVID, we wouldn't have invested as we had in technology. We wouldn't have learned some of the tools on e-commerce. We wouldn't have learnt and experienced how difficult and how much fun it can be to keep communication going really strong with customers and with your team members remotely. So there's lots of great stuff to come from the last couple of years. I mean, obviously a lot of sadness as well, but we are, really, really, I guess, reopening with a new lease of life, and that's really all about being a startup once over again, which we're pretty excited about.
Has your purpose, your vision, your mission, has that been adapted to the current environment, or is that still the same as when the business was founded?
Yeah, I mean, I think our what and our why are pretty strong, but I think what we have worked on over the past 18 months is the how. So, we are proudly here to try and make a difference to everyone we work with. Really, that's team members, that's partners, customers, stakeholders. That's our friends in Kenya, our family in Kenya, I should say. And that's at the heart of our business. So, when we sell coffee to our customers in our coffee shops, we feel that we have a lot of pride in that single cup of coffee because of the impact it's having around the world. So we know that, let's say, back in May, when we sort of sent 1,500 school meals out to India, we could only have done that because of the support and loyalty we have from our customers and our team. And I think those little gestures that we are able to make really set the tone for what we want to be about. And, ultimately, I will say this, but I want to go home at night, see my kids, and I want them to be proud of me and I guess look up to me because of what I'm doing when I go to work, which, we all spend a lot of time at work. And if I can play a small part in helping someone else around the world improve their situation, their life, then I think that's a pretty cool place to be.
And it's super interesting. You talked a bit about you have the farm in Kenya, and in my view, that's like being at the front line of change. You are actively trying to change. I mean, not just talking about or donating money, but you actually having a place in the front line of where change needs to happen. Life conditions for these people, the works at the farm, and so on. Well, what is it exactly? How exactly you are approaching that, running a coffee farm in a very different country so far away, and how does that work? Because that must give some, you think from a business point of view, that's a lot of supply chain challenges if you own that bit of the business as well.
Yeah, I must confess, I use the phrase "our farm," and that's kind of with love. But we have a relationship, a partnership, if you like, with a family called the Machumbas out in Meru in Kenya. And the last thing we want to do, actually, in spite of what I've just said, is rock up to a country like Kenya, like true capitalists would, and buy land and I guess dictate how the world is going to be from now on. So that's not what we are at all. What we have is really strong partnerships with farmers like the Machumbas, and we try and make sure that their life experience and their work is cherished more so than if they just worked on the open market for coffee supply chain. So for us, we used to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every year getting large organizations to stamp our coffee and say it was produced to an ethical standard. And we got a little bit disillusioned with that world. We still work with those organizations, and I think they do a brilliant job. But we thought, the size we are, why can't we just bust that world open a little bit and go direct to source? And rather than, pay these hundreds of thousands of dollars every year for a stamp on our coffee bag, why can't we invest that money into projects that really excite us, such as, adding water facilities to the local school, the local rural school? Why can't we build a science laboratory in the local school? Why can't we fund school meal projects? And in doing so, how can we make sure that when we say we're going to donate, 1,500 school meals to India, how can we be sure that every single meal gets to a child that needs it, not someone else being involved in that relationship, taking a percentage or administration fee or whatever it may be, which happens. So for us, that's really important to us. And I think the way we've modeled the farm is a really exciting venture. We would like to do more of that stuff around the world. We're looking at a few projects elsewhere. The reality is, in these third world countries, there is a lack of investment, but there is so much energy and passion and pride in what they're doing. And for us to go to Kenya and invest some money in agronomy, to invest some money in infrastructure, and I guess to try and work with the local community to effectively deliver brilliant coffee is quite a cool, obvious thing to do, if you ask me. And the benefits are, for everyone, clear to see. We get brilliant coffee where the family and the local community hugely invested. We get to thank them and show our gratitude for their efforts and support their local community. And I think our customers feel much closer to where the coffee is harvested as well as a result, because, we can share the stories of successes. Only yesterday, I had a beautiful letter from the head teacher from the local school saying, thank you so much for your efforts in supporting our school. We've just put this multi-purpose hall. We've just built this multi-purpose hall. And that's not down to me or down to Paddy and Scott. That's down to our customers that support us and drink our coffee. So it's a lovely, lovely exchange. And as I say, we think that stuff is really important. And for us, why can't we do business and use that business to create change around the world?
That's super inspiring, Jonathan. And you have been being able to do that even though you've gone through a pandemic, which I think is really interesting as well. You haven't lost the focusing on making impact besides profit, because you need to keep the business alive. When you look at your things, Jonathan, there's the word fueling ambition, or the phrase fueling ambition, or rather corrected to. What did that actually mean for you as an organization? Because you have it on your posters, you have it on your T-shirt, it's everywhere. It definitely means something for you.
Yeah. Well, I think, I believe a lot can be achieved with a humble cup of coffee. And we don't see coffee as just a hot black drink. We see it as fuel. And we love the idea that people can meet in our coffee shops. They can do business deals. They can be on a date. They can, start stuff that could last forever, be it, relationships, partnerships, whatever it may be. And ultimately, our coffee, our fuel can really lead to something. So for us, the concept of fueling ambition is all about seeing that cup of coffee as fuel to make you feel ambitious, courageous, to want to take on the day. We talk about wanting to make coffee for the pioneers, the creators, creative people that just see coffee as a real fuel.
What about when you talk about, you just gone through, a tremendous time like the rest of the industry, the pandemic, and we're probably not out yet. What have you as an MD have to unlearn, or what does Paddy and Scott have to unlearn the last 18 months then, besides that, the only constant there is right now is change, as we talked about before we went live. But what is it like the real big things you have like thrown away from post pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've unlearned a great deal, but I think what we have done is completely reprioritized what was important to us. So that's certainly one thing. I mean, you know, we know what it's like. All of us have gone through it. Communicating with people that are not connected physically is a real challenge. That's customers, that's team members, that's partners, stakeholders. So you've really had to think over the past 18 months about how you can communicate effectively, how you can continue to kind of build engagement with people and not just leave them there. So that's been really interesting for us. And I think I touched on it earlier, but this whole concept of feeling like a startup business again is a real priority for us. We love the energy that we have seeping through our veins and our people right now. And it feels like we've just got so much energy and so much good stuff happening that actually we're proud of being a startup 15 years into the journey. So if COVID has given us anything, it's a real new energy.
So you actually like use the the downsides of COVID and use that actually to fuel positivity through the organization, which I think is very interesting. You also you have this every time I met you and I read about things you're doing is that you have this intent to be a great hospitality business. And what is in your view like a great hospitality business? You already talked about you need to give more than you take in principle, but there's other things that like the ingredients to build in your view a great hospitality business.
Yeah, I mean, I think the very definition of hospitality is all about making someone's day better than it was before they walked through the door or before they had the interaction or before they met somebody. And for me, this is not new ground, incidentally, but this starts with the team members and leads right through to our customers. So, when our guys come to work in the morning, what are we doing consciously to make sure when they step through the door, they are going to have an incredible time with us? If they do, then the chances are they're going to convey that to their guests and our customers. So I think the environment we create for them is really important. And that's about great leadership. It's about making sure people are valued. And it's about giving them the freedom to be themselves. The last thing we want to do in this business is process our employees so they turn into robots and feel like, they can't be themselves. We all know there are standards, operating procedures, all the rest of it. But ultimately, it comes back to great recruitment and great culture. And if those two things are correct, I don't think you need too much by way of standards and procedures, because things just tend to happen and become quite magical.
Yeah, let's dive into. You mentioned recruitment. What is great recruitment in what is like your principles for great recruitment when you are? What is important for Paddy and Scott when you're looking for these people that's gonna help you deliver that great experience both to you internally but also externally?
Yeah, well, for me, it's all about energy, really. Energy, infectious energy is what we look for all the time. And I think, to give you an idea, I haven't recruited anybody really for 2 or 3 years. I don't really interview people. I am a big fan of getting the guys and girls that already work here to interview and select the people they want to work with. So I don't think that's a particularly crazy concept. But for me, you spend a lot of time at work. It's really important that I think you get to influence the people you're going to spend that time with. So why should a big boss from an ivory tower rock up and make a decision when we're all about trying to create fun for people and create communities within our coffee shops? So I think that's something that we proudly do, and it works brilliantly. People know what a Paddy and Scott's person is all about. They know what we're looking for. They know what's going to fit. And I dare say they do a much better job at it than me as the MD of selecting our people. And I'm a great believer in new people joining us and having really strong sponsors. So when they join on day one, there is a band of merry people there willing and waiting to make sure they are successful in their role. And that's something we've really focused on, is setting people up for success and making sure that they've got some early wins that they can achieve pretty quickly to make them feel good about their time at Paddy and Scott's and to give them some confidence that they can take a risk. We had sort of 5 or 6 people join us last week, and the first thing I said to them was, listen, guys, just to let you know, you've all applied to join us as a barista. We're really, really proud that you chose us. And we're really proud to tell you that you've beaten at least 200, 300 people to this job. So hopefully you can puff your chests out and feel good about that achievement, because it's a competitive world out there, and we're really proud to have you on board. And I think, that sort of honesty really helps. And from day one, it builds a culture that says we're going to be really honest with you, and we ask you to be really honest with us. So if this is not for you, then tell us. And we're very lucky. We've been working on being I hate labels. I mean, we've not been working on being a great employer. We're not trying to be a best place to work, or yawn. We're just decent folk, and we recognise that to be a successful business in hospitality, it's all about your people. So why can't we create a company that people want to work for? So that's been a journey we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years. And then lo and behold, COVID comes, Brexit comes. No one's got any staff. Everyone's looking to recruit. Well, we're doing just fine. We've got loads of people that want to come and work for us, thankfully, and we are seemingly ahead of the game when it comes to recruiting people if we need them.
And it's so interesting you put that, quite, if you take from a manager's point of view, and people that is running units, how much the leaders are spending time on recruitment, especially in the moment. Actually, you're given that authority to the people, and we can come back to that in a second, how you get autonomy and so on. But how did you actually make that happen? Besides saying, I want you to do the recruitment, did you give them tools? How did actually, have you learned them in some basics around recruitment, or have you just said, this is the framework, these are the principles? So what did you do to make that happen? That step of putting recruitment out to the front line?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. We have somebody sort of centrally that does the shortlisting, if you like. We're pretty succinct in how we ask people to apply for roles here at Paddy Scott. So we're not interested in being one of 100 roles that somebody applies for on Indeed or on cater.com or something like that. That's not really good enough. That doesn't set the tone for what we're looking for from our people. So we always ask for a one-page CV, which obviously takes some work. Someone has to consciously decide, yes, I'm feeling strongly enough about working with Paddy & Scott that I'm going to condense my CV into one page. And then we always ask for sort of 5 bullet points that tells us why you're the superstar we're looking for. Again, not particularly scientific. This is not going to blow anyone's mind, but you would be astonished at the amount of people that don't follow those simple instructions. And it's relatively simple to separate the wheat from the chaff once you ask for a fairly strong directive application such as that. Then when we get the guys to meet the shortlist ultimately, and yes, we have to work with the team so they know what questions to ask. So we have got, some questions, some probing questions, but it's not a formula, and it's not a set specification of questions. Because let's face it, when you interview someone, we all know that you've already made your decision within the first 15 seconds or whatever it is anyway. So let's not spend an hour talking about life and achievements and everything else when really we've all made our calls and our opinions clear pretty early. So I don't know. We don't overthink it. You work here. Chances are you've worked here for 2 or 3 years. You know what's going to work. What feels right to you? What are you looking for from a co-worker, from a friend? We do ask a few little interesting questions that helps us make decisions. So we always sort of say, okay, would this person be a good person to go for a beer with on a Friday night? Would you want to spend time in their company? Pretty simple, yes or no. We also say, if this person were to be offered another job elsewhere this afternoon before you called them, would you be gutted? Simple as that.
That's interesting, and that in a way sets the tone for what you just told there. A lot about the culture as well. But how do you define culture or great culture, and do you see this as your key competitive advantage? Because what you're talking about here is behaviors that inform the way you do things, as I can hear you as you talk.
Yeah, sure. So culture for me is it's those unwritten rules, isn't it, that exist in an organization that make people or encourage people to make choices that support more than just themselves. So we want to build this culture where people feel they are given freedom to make decisions, but those decisions work for us, they work for themselves, they work for our customers. So we do try and drive high performance in our stores, in our business. We do our very best to make sure people are rewarded and recognised for great stuff. And it does help that we have a reason for being, really. So it does help that we are not purely asking people to come and work for us to help us make some money. I think that's quite an interesting dynamic. So, when I report back to the guys and talk about, as I did just today, actually, the multi-use sports hall that we've just kind of contributed towards in Kenya, I don't tell them that for any other reason than because they've achieved that. They've built that. They may not physically put bricks in the ground, but their work has contributed hugely to that multi-purpose hall that is changing kids' lives in Kenya. I think that's quite cool, and I think it's really much more interesting than working for a business and just helping shareholders earn more money.
And I think it's very interesting that actually these non-financial things, as you say, they are actually not only making the customers excited about spending their pounds with you, but also like people want to join an organization where they can feel that I'm part of doing something more than just having a job and earning some money. I'm actually making some kind of positive impact, because I guess we're all looking, because we all know that we need to be part of this change that needs to happen in the world. If it's climate change, whatever it is, we all want to find a way to live that out. And I think, is that also what you hear from people as they join you? They feel they can do that through their jobs?
Well, actually, no. I think people join us because we're quite a cool, fun company to work for. And I think people learn that over time, and it becomes more important to them once they're part of the fabric. So, I've always joked that some companies, they interview and they're kind of like, what are you passionate about? And they kind of sit there in shock when the applicant says something that isn't about the company they're hoping to join or the world in which they operate. Well, people can't be passionate about something and can't be really excited about it when they don't know what it looks like and what it feels like. So for us to expect people to kind of understand our world and get excited about it before really experiencing it is probably a little bit ignorant. So to answer your question, no, but it builds over time. And you know what? Everyone's different, right? So some people work for us because we pay well. Some people work for us because we have lots of fun. Some people work for us because they like coffee and they don't want to pay for it. They just can take what they want. Some people work for us because, like I said earlier, they want to go home at night and they want to tell their kids that the work they've done today is funding something bigger than just a business, but it's changing people's lives. So whatever it is for you, Mr. or Mrs. Applicant, if you're right for our business, we'll do our best to engage you. We'll try and make it exciting for you. And hopefully one of the things we do, or several of the things we do, will inspire you.
Have you on this journey, have you been, sat down at some point and said, we need to define a playbook here, some beliefs, values, principles, people call them different things, to actually make sure you can implement this culture and do things as you do, where you actually are able to give this level of authority and autonomy to your frontline employees?
We have, but if I'm honest, I'm not a huge fan of labels on the wall. I mean, I think lots of companies have big, bold words on the wall, and that's meant to sum up what we're all about. And we do have that. We do have that. But I'm not that interested in it, really. I think you walk into somewhere and within 5-10 minutes what sort of experience is coming, what the place is like. And I maintain, I'm damn sure that people come and trade with us, come and spend their money with us. Not because, they love our coffee necessarily, that helps, but it's probably because they see how much fun we have and how much fun our team have, and they want a bit of that. They want to buy that. They walk past, they see the queue, and they're like, wow, that queue looks like it's having some fun, because the guys at the bar are having some fun. And it permeates. So I'm more into what it feels like than what's written down. Now, of course, we're a tiny little business, so we haven't got to worry too much about the framework that sits behind. We can just do what we're doing. And of course, as we grow number of locations around the UK, it gets harder to both define and measure. But actually, the principle is the same. When you walk in somewhere, can you feel Paddy and Scott's or not?
Now you mentioned growth in connection with culture, and then you already had a reservation there. What is your approach to growth? Because everybody has to grow. That's in one way or the other. If that's through location or digital sales, that's we all have to grow to change and actually make the world better. Sometimes we need to grow as well. How are you gonna manage that, and how do you make decisions of that? Because that's an interesting factor that comes up again post-pandemic, is this conversation about now we just we need to go and open, we are launching, we need to replicate what we've done, and we need to move fast because the opportunity is now and here. But I'm almost a little bit scared listening to that, because I could also see massive issues with that pre-pandemic, when we talked about growth and a cookie cutter way of growing a hospitality business.
Yeah, again, it comes back to recruitment, I think. Because if you get people that are a great fit, and you give them the framework, and you give them the impetus to be themselves, but within the Paddy and Scott's framework, then it tends to work. I mean, we're very lucky. We don't have external shareholders. We haven't got to report to people that are demanding that we open up 100 coffee shops this year or anything like that. So we can really make sure what we're doing is done well, and for that reason, we don't need to race. We get offered opportunities every single day to open a coffee shop here or there, or to work with this company, or this relationship, that partnership, and we're really selective. Which is difficult on the basis that none of us have made any money for the past 18 months during COVID, but you got to believe in what you are, and you got to stick to your guns sometimes. So, yeah,
that's super interesting again, because you're saying it's the journey, not the outcome, in a way, and I think that's an interesting approach as well to running a business. And I think that comes to my next thing, as you've been part of, in a very difficult, you've been there a bit more than 3 years, and 18 months of them has been, navigating through the pandemic. What has been your biggest learning? Maybe you can also go back through your whole career in hospitality, of when you want to build great culture. What has been your biggest learning when it comes to that? Because everybody talks about this, I'm going to build a great culture, but it's one of those, when you start to step into that journey, it's quite complex and sometimes a bit untangible what's going on.
Yeah, I think being authentic is really important. So, if we say we're going to do something, we are going to do it. We the minute you kind of let someone down internally or externally, I think it's a slippery slope. So, I mean, that's simple to say and easy to say, because the world is ever changing. But if we say we're going to do something, damn right, we're going to do it. The other thing I would say is the impact of poor hires on a business and its culture. So when I first arrived 3 years ago, I think there was some people in the organization that were phenomenally talented people, but maybe their journey had come to an end. Maybe they'd been here too long, or whatever it may be, and it kind of needed some quick decisions to be made, and some instinctive decisions to be made. And I think if those decisions weren't made or aren't made, then you can really, really slow yourselves down.
Yeah, and that's super interesting, because I think actually, for many, that's actually the biggest blocker sometimes for building great culture, is actually not dealing with the wrong people. Because if you don't get the wrong people off the bus, the great people will leave at some point, because they will not accept being with mediocrity, I normally say. What is the leader's role in building this culture? Because there's often different understanding about what a leader's role is, and you already indicated that part of your way of your building culture is actually you give people freedom to operate, which you so kindly borrowed to me at some point when we had an exchange about permission to operate, I think I call it. And you said, no, Michael, it's freedom to operate. And I'm taking that on board and really using that. But can you talk a bit about that and in your role as a leader to actually, build this autonomy within the company, and you are actually burning down the Christmas tree in a way, the traditional hierarchy is disappearing. in your organization, as many other progressive organizations. Talk a bit about that and your role as a leader and what that does to you. And you spend your life in hospitality, where it's been all about control the outcome, know the processes you mentioned as well. Tell me a bit about that, and I think people would be very interesting to hear some more about that as well.
So as far as I'm concerned, every single person we employ is a leader in our business. Every single individual has the ability to influence what we do, has the ability to influence our customers, their co-workers, and the business. That's really, really important. So I might have someone that's earning, I don't know, £9-10 an hour serving coffee, and their role as a leader is to make sure they can lead their particular section or their particular area as if it were their own. So, not everybody wishes to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to take those risks and start their own business. But I think most people in there somewhere have a sense of pride that they want to do a great job. And we work really hard to try and prize that out of people. And we try and make sure that people take real accountability for what they're doing and are really honest with each other. And if they see something they don't like, then they deal with it. And they don't, pop off to a manager and moan and have politics and all that sort of rubbish. Just do what feels right, and ultimately, be a leader. We talk about leadership at all levels quite a lot. It's really important to us.
How much hierarchy do you have, Jonathan, in the organization? How is it? Is reasonably flat, or are you very traditional hierarchy, or how does it work for Paddy and Scott?
No, I mean, we're very, very flat, very, very flat. So there's probably, our board is 3 people, and below that we have probably one sort of middle management tier, and then we're team members. So very, very flat. Yeah, very flat.
Yeah, that's super interesting as well. If you think about the traditional way of structuring organizations in the hospitality, as I've been studying and following you, and I've seen recently you've been very good at documenting what's going on out in the stores, and you talk a lot about that autonomy you have. And there was an experiment going on. I think it was last week where one of your teams were over 3 weeks, and you can probably tell this better than I can. We're reducing opening days, but they actually boost performance in that store. Can you tell a bit more about that? That sounds like really interesting, especially when we connect that with the staffing crisis as well.
Yeah, so we have one store in particular that it was getting really, really busy. It was come out of COVID. Lots of people were flocking to see us, and I could just sense the team were a little bit tired. And we kind of said, okay, well, look, how can we switch this up a little bit? How can we make sure everyone's talents are best used and that our customers are getting what they want? And we just kind of said, well, look, the weekends in this particular location aren't brilliant. They're okay, but they're not brilliant. Monday to Friday is our really strong period. So how much do we get from opening at weekends versus the saving we could make and the experience we could give our team members by giving weekends off? And we kind of, we batted it about a little bit as a group. And we said, okay, well, look, let's put it to the test. If we can achieve the same sales that we used to do in 7 days, but over 5 days, then then let's do it. That's a win for the business. That's a really, really strong win for the business. So sort of first week was awful. The second week wasn't much better. And all of a sudden, the third week, it just came together beautifully. And our sales sort of rocketed. And I think I can only put that down to the energy of the team and the fact that they had this little idea, they wanted to run with it, and I'm going, yeah, okay, let's try it, and they made it work themselves. So I didn't once say to them, okay, we'll do it, but here's you must promote this product, you must sell this, you must do that. Nothing like that. It was purely about, okay, I'll back you guys, but this is the challenge. Are you up to it? And seemingly they were. And the sales, as I say, skyrocketed and have done in week 4 as well, I must say. So it's good. It's good. And I think it just a bit of different thought process sometimes makes a big difference. And that's coming back to your earlier questions about COVID, is what we've tried to do, really look at things a little bit differently. Just because we've always opened 7 days a week and because the industry senses that's the right thing to do, maybe it's not right in this location, and maybe it's not right for this team, and maybe our customers could enjoy an experience that's slightly different.
Yeah, and it's actually funny. I was in London actually this morning before I traveled back. I just had a quick coffee with a very good friend of mine, and we walked around. There was a couple of places that was not open where we would thought we could go and grab something because they've changed, things because of staffing in a way. And in a way, we said this is also the time really to rethink if you should have been open at this time. Is it now that actually your customers gonna come and enjoy? If there's only 3 people coming for lunch, there's no reason to be open. If you can actually have better energy, as you say, because in the end of the day, hospitality is, as you say, an energy business. That's what, in principle, besides a good product, that's what we want. We want to get an energy and experience from it. And that leads me to the next question, Jonathan. The staffing crisis. Everybody's talking about it. There's a lot of writing about it. It's the worst it's ever been. Some people are missing 20% of the workforce they need, some other 10. And then there's people like you guys that's not really feeling it. But what is the way forward when it comes to the staffing crisis and where we are as a hospitality nation? And I think it's not just a UK problem. We have to acknowledge that it's a global problem. But what is your view on this, and what is the way forward?
Yeah, it's a really funny one, isn't it? It just kind of crept up overnight, hasn't it? The supply-demand issue with people. Luckily, we don't feel it as much because we've got, really strong audience of people that still want to work for Paddy and Scott's locally where we are in Suffolk. So we're pretty lucky in that respect. I don't know. It's difficult. The industry has always been obsessed with promoting itself as a career of choice. And I always think, really, is it about careers? Is that what we're trying to sell people? Why can't we just sell people a really good job that could just be 4 hours a week, 8 hours a month, whatever it is? Why have we got to get so obsessed with careers? Because I think the industry is a great place to work. You can learn so much so soon and be exposed to some brilliant stuff. I know when I left university, I was running a restaurant and bar operation of £1 million, and I was age 21. Where else do you get that sort of responsibility, getting people to take chances on you? Nowhere else. But it's not about a career necessarily. It's just about a job. I'm convinced there's a lot of people kind of moaning, and with good reason. It's tough out there, I appreciate. But no one wakes up and says, oh, do you know what I want to be? I want to be an Amazon delivery driver. I don't believe. So, yeah, for me, let's focus less on the career stuff and let's just give people a really good environment to work in. It's fascinating. Even the last couple of weeks, all of these companies have come out, and said, we are giving pay rises, 4% pay rise. Well done. Really good job. 4% pay rise. Wow, that's going to do wonders to attract people, isn't it, to your world? I would think not. But if you if you give people a great experience and you turn on its head and they want to come work for you because they can have fun, or because you stand for something, or because they walk through the door and instantly they feel better about their life because of the energy they can feel in your business. I think that's a better currency than 4% pay increase.
And I guess pay is a hygiene factor that just has to be ticked off. It has to be, the best you can do and be the best at, living wage and all those. And then, it becomes like this hygiene factor. You're just following whatever, your people need to survive. And I think what I can see, the people that's doing well, and what I can hear from you, that you are caring for people in a totality of their lives. It's not just about getting the job done and getting to work and work. It's about the totality of their lives, exactly making them better. You almost act a bit like a mentor. And that's what I start to see when I've interviewed other people and been quite interested in my whole career in how this works. And this is that thing. There's not like this, you're at work and not work. You are been brought into, we're going to make you better in your life, and you can take whatever you want from that. If you want a leadership position or not, we're going to make your life better in principle.
Yeah, absolutely. And our leaders are very much, encouraged to do that. So if, let's say someone's having a 1 hour catch up with somebody in our world, they might spend 45 minutes talking about that individual's life outside of work, and only 15 minutes on the stuff that is work related. Because if we can help people have a great existence, outside of work, chances are they're going to come through the door, and feel $1 million, and all that stuff that's going on outside, they'll forget, and they'll just come with vigor and energy, and that's really important to us. And it is individuals. We've got some people here. One guy, Dan, who has loads of entrepreneurial flair, brilliant energy, probably doesn't have the risk taking behavior to kind of go, yes, I want to be an entrepreneur, and yes, I'm willing to put some money on the line and create my own business, but has everything else in spades. So last summer we said, okay, Dan, we've got this beautiful 1970s camper van. It's worth, I don't know, 30 grand or something. Here you go. See what you can do with it. We could run it ourselves. We could take it to events and shows all around the country, and we can make a success of it. Or we could give it to you, and you could make even more of a success of it. And we could, along the journey, teach you how to have your own business, and you'll get exposed to the commercial stuff, to the important facets of running a business, which of course in turn is going to help us when you come to work. So again, just thinking a bit differently.
That's super interesting. And I did an interview with Tom from Honest Burger recently, where they also created like an incubator program, as you said, for people that really have these entrepreneurial traits, but just either need the opportunity or just need a bit of hand-holding to take those chances. And that could be very important for our industry as the future as well, that we create future great hospitality leaders and owners as well as businesses. How does the future look for the industry? John, in your lens, if you were looking in the crystal ball, how is looking in 12, 18 months in our industry? It looks like still very difficult if you look at all the things that's hitting the industry, and we still have, a lot of things coming up ahead of us.
Yeah, it's certainly still tough, isn't it? I don't think there's a one size fits all answer to that question, because I think different facets of the industry, different size organizations have different challenges. What we do know is that there is still this pent up demand for people to go out and have a good time. So we need to capitalize on that. And it's tough out there. If organizations don't have the people in place to service that demand, then it gets really difficult. I think we can all see that, there was the initial kind of, wish the industry is lacking people. If it's not exactly as you want it to be, if your experience in a restaurant isn't perfect, bear with us. I think that kind of that reality check is hit hard. I think people's expectations are higher than ever, and actually their willingness to be supportive and empathetic of the situation the industry is in is long gone, if you ask me. So people are spending their hard-earned cash. They want to come out and play, have some fun, and they're only willing to accept excellence, as far as I'm concerned, which is really tough. But I think the future looks like a really good technology-focused approach in hospitality. I think one thing we've learned over the past 18 months when it comes to e-commerce is frictionless experience. And we try and take those learnings from e-commerce and apply them in our stores and in our business. So what can we do to enhance the customer's experience with technology? And that doesn't have to cost loads of money. It really doesn't have to cost loads of money. You just need to have bright people that are willing to either build stuff or at least look at things in a different way. So, I think that's probably where we're going. We know the onslaught of supply chain issues that's coming, and again, everyone's going to have to reinvent, review, restructure, rebuild, and just make sure that they are setting themselves up for success and not trying to do too much. I think less is going to be more for the next 18 months, probably.
And that's super interesting. And then you're saying that, the only constant is change, and, we need to keep on being agile. We need to take care of our people and use technology to improve, the experience both for customers and internally as well. What about, where do you get your inspiration from? Do you have like some influential mentors to help you to become a better leader because, you're running the business? Do you have somebody that challenge you? Do you had some true history that's really been part of forming you to the way you think leadership and culture and approach to business?
Well, I guess, Michael, listening to podcasts like yours is a big help. Let's face it.
Thank you.
I actually think sometimes the industry is pretty guilty at looking insular and internally for seeds of wisdom, and actually we need to look outside at other sectors to try and get some inspiration for what we should be doing. So, I do sort of listen to a lot of podcasts and read a lot of books, but largely none of it is to do with hospitality, if I'm honest, because I want to see what else is happening in the world when it comes to other sectors, because I think that's the application of ideas is where the magic happens. So if you can take those nuggets and those seeds from different areas and apply them in your business, then you're probably going to create something pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, all over the place. I have got a small number of people that I call upon on a regular basis and just chew the fat, and kind of say, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? You've been here. What did you do? So I think everyone should have a decent network of friends that they can call on when they need some pearls of wisdom.
You just said there, I read a lot of book. If you were giving a book away 9 out of 10 times, what book would that be then, Jonathan?
I love the book by the founder of Nike called Shoe Dog. That's a really cool book when it comes to building brands, taking risks, and being sort of relentlessly focused on what you stand for. I also love another book by a guy called Ricardo Semler called Maverick, which you must have read or written, maybe, Michael.
It is behind us. Unfortunately I didn't write that book, but yeah, I would have loved to. Yeah.
I mean, and that guy, well ahead of his time when it comes to what does the future of work look like. He was running engineering businesses in South America and was really incredibly transparent with his teams. It was all about, you want a pay rise? Okay, well then ask your colleagues. All that sort of great stuff, and I think that's just brilliant. I'd love to, actually, I've not seen him talk recently, but I'd love to know how those decisions and that culture that Ricardo Semler had in place many moons ago, how it's looking now, see if it's still working. But yeah, really inspired by that.
Yeah, and I actually saw him just before the summer at a virtual event, and he was no longer involved in the business. He's now retired, and I think he, quite honest, said it's not the same, and it's not me to judge in a way. He said, like, very maverick. But they're moving on, doing its own thing. And then I looked a bit into it, and it looked like, because the founder and the family has withdrawn from it, which is quite interesting, they were losing some of that autonomy that was in the organization before, and some bit more old school industrial thinking was come back into Semco. But I don't know enough about it. But also, like, it was very sad to see that if that was the truth. But he was quite open about it, that he said that it's very difficult to practice this if you don't believe in it as a CEO. And that was what he talked about as well. The importance of succession was one of the things he talked about as you moved the organization on. How do you actually find the energy? You just said it's bloody hard. How do you find the energy to show up pro every day, Jonathan? It's you have as many crazy challenges as anyone else, but how do you get the energy? How do you get yourself pumped and ready to go in every day?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and lie and tell you that I wake up at 4 a.m. and have a power shake every morning and then run a marathon or anything like that, because that would be utter bull. But what I do try and do is wake up at a decent hour. So I'm generally up before 6, and I do try and achieve something before I put anything into my body by way of coffee or breakfast or whatever it may be. So for me, I try and get to the gym 4 or 5 times a week and just make sure I've earned my breakfast before I put any fuel inside me. I think that's really important. The other thing I do is I walk really fast wherever I go. I don't know if you've ever seen a miserable person walking fast. It doesn't happen too often unless they're in a rush because they're late. So I feel like walking fast, raising your heartbeat is a good place to be. So that's something I do quite a lot. And I just make sure I drink loads of water from an energy point of view, at least 2 or 3 litres a day. I do have to limit the coffee, sadly, because sleep is also a huge defining factor in someone's energy. So I tend not to have coffee after 3 o'clock. Am I allowed to admit that? Probably not, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I know how that is as well. But it always helps. I know you have small kids as well, so they also take a lot of energy. So it makes you sleep very well when you get the opportunity to sleep. What would be your top advice to leaders out there in our industry? We talked about culture, we talked about where the industry is going, we talked about the staffing crisis. What is your top 3 advice to people out there?
So for me, the best thing that I've done in the past 18 months is gotten much closer to our teams and giving our guys on the floor bigger responsibilities, bigger roles, and bigger voices. So the program that I always used to love watching on television was Undercover Boss, where people would go back to the floor and they would try and get under the skin of their business once again and try and find out what they needed to do in order to change things, improve things through the eyes of their employees. And I think the concept is sound, and it still works today. So I try and make sure that I spend time on the floor. I think it goes a long way. I think people enjoy sharing the pain and the joy with the senior folk in the business. So that's certainly one. Look outside hospitality for advice and for information and for challenge. I think we can all get captured in this bubble of hospitality, and we all think, oh, woe is me, isn't it tough right now? Well, probably is, but damn sure it's tougher elsewhere if you look. And some people outside of hospitality have probably had similar challenges and have probably overcome them with some different thinking. So, that's, I think, really important. And I always sort of challenge myself and say, what do I want? What do I want it to say on my tombstone? I appreciate this is, not particularly positive language, but what do you want to leave behind? That's really important. So is what you're doing today something you're really proud of? And if you get those, that one sentence on your tombstone, what's it going to say? What do you leave behind? And are you proud of your impact you've had? So, yeah, that would be my advice.
That's super advice, Jonathan. And I guess there's a lot, as you say, there's looking into the mirror instead of out of the window if you want to improve yourself as a leader, but also as a business. And go and find inspiration from the best of the best, both inside and outside hospitality. Love that. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you? They want to know more about Paddy and Scott. Where is the great places to go?
Yeah, well, come on, see us on Paddy and Scott's Top Shop. We've got some really cool coffee shops around Suffolk. We'd love to welcome people over, and there's some great videos on YouTube that we're really proud of as well that tell our story passionately and promote the impact we're trying to have around the world. So, funnily enough, we've got some videos that are absolutely crazy in terms of viewer count, and number of subscribers on our YouTube channel is absolutely nuts for a tiny little company. So in that respect, we must be doing something right.
Great. Jonathan, thank you so much for taking time out. And actually, I know you're out and about today in one of the stores and share the story with us and with the rest of the audience. And I will send you and the team at Paddy and Scott power and energy for the road ahead.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll take it with open arms.
And hopefully we're gonna sit across each other enjoying coffee in Suffolk in the near future. That's definitely the plan.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's fuel some ambition.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for sharing your amazing insights on how to build a company that makes a positive impact on people, community, and the planet. I would recommend you to sit down now with pen and paper and ask yourself, what steps can I take to build a culture that's based on purpose, autonomy, and mastery? To get further inspiration on how to build a great company culture, you can also tune in to our episode 29, Enrich Lives with Mowgli's Nisha Katona. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please share, rate, review it, or subscribe to one of our channels. A big thank you to Biz Simply for supporting us, bringing great insights, strategies, and tools to help the industry thrive, not just survive. Check them out at bizsimply.com or on their social at bizsimply or bizsimplyhq, and you can email them directly on advice@bizsimply.com. Thank you to Fina Charlton, who is the show producer and editor from the podcast collective. Tune in next time for another interview. In the meantime, find out more about us and subscribe to the newsletter and download free leadership tools at hospitalitymavericks.com. And don't worry, if you didn't get all of this, there will be links in the show notes. I'm Michael Tingsa, and you've been listening to the Hospitality Maverick podcast show. Be Maverick.